Welcome to another mock talk. I've been talking about Above the Line by Urban Meyer, using that with my athletes this year. Again, this whole year I've talked about making each day your masterpiece, and doing above the line type of stuff really gives you some tracks to run on and doing that. And Urban Meyer believed that performance was directly related to behavior. So your behavior really affects your performance. And the three behaviors that he focused on that were above the line, or staying above the line, were being intentional, doing things on purpose, and being skillful. And then of course, on the below the line behaviors are when we're impulsive, on autopilot, or resistant. And of course, we want to avoid those, eliminate those, get those out of our life, those kinds of things. But being above the line, I've talked about being intentional. I've talked about doing things on purpose. And tonight I want to talk a little bit about being skillful. And I really like what John Wooden talked about, and when he taught his athletes, and it was about deliberate practice. It wasn't just practice, it was deliberate practice. There was a purpose to it. There was a reason to it. There was a plan to it. And his plan was, explanation, explain what they were doing and why they were doing it, demonstrated it, imitation, and then it was repetition, 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 until they got it down to become the best that they're capable of becoming. And it's very important to pay attention to the details if you're going to be skillful, because the bottom line is this: you're going to face adversity, you're going to face challenges, and when you do, you're going to fall back to your training. And if you haven't been deliberate in your practice, if you haven't paid attention to the details, you're going to fall back to what you've done. And if you've just been on autopilot and going through the motions, then you're not going to be very strong when you need to be strong when that adversity strikes. So a couple little things to think about as far as being skillful is, number one, listening is a skill. Listening is a skill. I challenge the athletes today to pay attention, to listen to the details. I'm working with running backs and quarterbacks and outside linebackers. I talk to them about their reads and what they should be looking for. And some guys, you could tell they were listening. They bought in. They did exactly what I said to do. And you could tell some other guys, they caught pieces of what I said, and they just kind of were going on impulse and trying to, do stuff that maybe was somewhat athletic, but wasn't the right thing to do. And then, I worked with my running backs and my quarterbacks, and I talked a little about footwork and their exchanges on handoffs and those kinds of things. And then we put that all together in a play, and we worked together as a team. And even the lineman coaches were talking about the specifics that the linemen were supposed to do and the steps they were supposed to take. And all those were important details. And if we're going to be the best team that we can be, and if we're going to run that play to the best of its capability, then we have to focus on the details and know those details. And I even challenge the guys that weren't in to be watching the guys that are in their position and getting mental reps, so that when they got up there and they got the opportunity, they knew what to do. And I told them when I was coaching one kid, and maybe I'm correcting him and telling him what he didn't do right, that I'm also talking to the other kids that play that position, so that when they get up there, they don't make the same mistake. And just the same, if I'm talking to a kid and I'm praising him and telling him, man, that was a wonderful job, you did a great job here on this, you did exactly what you're supposed to do, I'm talking to those other kids so that when they get up there, they know what we're looking for as coaches. And those things are all important, and it all comes down to listening, but it also comes down to deliberate practice and getting your mind right and being focused and being intentional on trying to get better and learn your position and doing it to the best of your ability and becoming the best that you can possibly be. And if you're deliberate about your practice, if you're intentional, if you do things on purpose, you're going to develop that skill. And then when things get tough, when challenges come, you're going to be able to apply those skills and come out on top and be the best that you can possibly be. And you'll be able to navigate those situations. And the same thing is true in life. We fall back to our training, whatever it is. We're going to hit adversity. We're going to hit challenges. In our work, we're going to hit adversity. We're going to hit challenges. And if we're going through the motions every day and just kind of letting things happen to us, then when something difficult comes along, we're not going to be prepared. Okay, same thing's true in our family. If we just allow things to come and take them as they come and not be prepared and not work on developing the best family that we can have, okay, when tough times come, you're not going to be prepared for those things as well. So for me, a big part of that is reading my Bible and getting stronger and renewing my mind every day. And that also helps me fall back on training when adversity strikes. So Question for you: what are you doing to become skillful? And are you doing things to help you to be skillful so that you can be above the line and that you can handle challenges when adversity comes? Thanks so much for listening, and always remember that God's grace is sufficient.